God will take us higher if we stay together, loving one another. Higher if we stay together, loving one another.
Covenants are made by God to stand against the odds. It's a covenant between us two. Your love for me and my love for you. We give each other space to walk in this grace that's made for this special place.
Higher if we stay together, loving one another.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome again to Covenant Couples. I'm Apostle Robert Jenkins. This is Divine Insight Ministries. And as always, we'd like to take out the time to say thank you and appreciate you. I'm by myself today. My wife has some other things she had to do. So we're gonna walk into this today by myself. Good to see you, Pastor C. Good to see everybody. Sister Monica, God bless you. Sister Angela, God bless you. Go ahead. As always, we ask you to please hit that share button, share this on your page. And if you don't see some people that normally come with us on Covenant Couples on Mondays at 5 o'clock p.m. Please tag them, let them know, hey, we are on live today. I'm without my right hand today, my right hand woman, but thank God for it. She's out taking care of some things that we have to do coming up in the following weeks, and so she wasn't able to make it. But thank God for everybody being here. Go ahead, hit that share button. Hope you're having a great week. You know, we had a great time Sunday. Pastor C came and blew us away with a word from God talking about the parasite of partiality. I'm telling you, we had a time Sunday. The worship was great. The word was incredible. And then we had a 5 or 6 hour fellowship. We was together from 10 in the morning that Sunday till about 7 o'clock at night. That's like 9 hours of spending time with people that you love. And it was so much interaction, so much love, so much we were just explaining things and teaching things and sharing, and it was just incredible. So Sunday was incredible. I hope you had a great Sunday. It was incredible. And now we're dealing with Monday Covenant Couples, and thank God for that. But it was incredible. So I hope you had a great time. If you didn't get a chance to watch that service for Sunday, go back and watch it. I'm telling you, it'd be a blessing to you. I wish we could have videotaped the whole entire session. We had an awesome time, didn't we, Pastor C? It was incredible. Sister Dana was there, my wife, and Mo and Jada and Sister Mary and so many others that came in. I'm telling you, it was incredible. And so we had an incredible time. So looking forward to today, dealing with building blocks, or dealing with what I call the ladder of relationships. And there is different steps that you must make in order for your relationship to have a healthy foundation. And foundation is everything. And anything that you're starting, you want to know, what is the foundational layers? What is the foundational pieces to anything, whether it's business, whether it's church, whether it's an organization, whether you're starting your own daycare center. You want to know the foundational blocks to that. You want to know, how do I climb the ladder of success? And many times the foundation supports everything else that you do. And so if you don't have solid foundation, then you're eventually going to fall, and it don't matter how high you may be. And so we'll talk about that today. Thank God for everybody. Sister Pamela, God bless you. God bless you again for everybody that's here. Go ahead and hit that share button. Please share this on your page. We were able to do 2 Patreon new classes last week, so I hope you get a chance. Those who are part of our Patreon community, support that. We try to put 2 classes up at least every week. And so we're trying to be faithful to that. Tomorrow, we dealing with a new series tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., talking about the purpose and the power of shifters. I'm telling you, this lesson this week is going to be incredible, and why you think the way you think, the process that it takes to be a kingdom shifter, and why God called you to shift things. And it may look like you're out of order, may look like you're insubordinate, may look like you are always causing conflict, but you are a shifter. We're going to talk about that. Good to see you, Brother Mark. Man, what's going with you? God bless you. I hope you get a chance to be a part of our teaching this week in the mornings, because you are definitely a kingdom shifter, the things that you're doing with the ideas that God has given you. And I think it'll be encouraging if you're able to come on tomorrow morning or Wednesday morning, Brother Mark, because definitely, and Sister Pamela as well, for many of those who are tied to Divine Insight Ministries, we have so many shifters. And I'm going to explain our thought process and why we do what we do and why we feel the way we feel. So it's going to be incredible. But let's deal with building relationships today. Thank God for everybody coming out. Please tag and share. Let people know that we're on live today. Like I said, I'm without my right-hand woman today, but we're going to make it work, all right? So we're dealing with building the ladder for relationships. Father, we thank you for your anointing. We thank you for all that you're doing. We thank you, Lord, for the insight that you have given us, for the fellowship you've given us, and for the family and friends that you have connected us to allow us to grow together, build together. And we thank you, Lord, even for relationships, God, the covenant relationships that you established from the very beginning, that you've given us insight on how to do this well and how to do it successfully. And so we thank you, Lord, for what you're doing. Give us the wisdom and knowledge today. Give us revelatory word that reaches us where we are so we can be more effective in this entity that you have put together. What means the most to you is families. And so we thank you, Lord, and we bless you for it. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. So God bless everybody. Good to see everybody. God bless you. Hope everything sounds well. Dealing with this teaching for today. Okay, building the ladder going higher and higher, and every ladder has a leg. And so you must know that there are different levels of relationships, and there's different levels for your particular relationship. And so whenever we're giving out information, thank God for Sister Dana and Brother Clarence, Pastor C, that we last Friday they was able to talk about. What's the day? Yeah, last Friday they was able to talking about marriage and relationships and dealing with romance and finances. And whenever we giving out that type of information, you want to gather the principle, and then you want to use that principle for your unique blueprint of your relationship. And so that's very key. You want to get all the keys. Hosea talks about how we destroy for the lack of knowledge. We're destroyed for the lack of knowledge, and we must have wisdom. And sometimes it is amazing that things that mean the most to us, we do the less investment in. And you want to make sure that you are investing into what matters in your life. If your marriage matter, and it should matter, you should do a social and a spiritual investment, and sometimes a physical investment, because we are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Where there's no vision, the people perish. And so many times we perish, not because we're not with the right people, not because this is not the right timing, but we don't have enough information to know how to sustain it. We don't know how to lay solid foundational steps, foundational building blocks, learning how to climb that ladder slow and efficient, to do that. And we must have information. So make sure you're gathering that. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about this ladder, and I want to go over some foundational things that I wish I would have experienced, or I wish I would have been able to gather more. Because sometimes I was with the right people, I just didn't ask the right questions. Sometimes I was more concerned about the superficial things in life, but I didn't give enough weight to the things that really matter. And sometimes you are in the company of people that can really help you establish a healthy relationship, but you're not paying attention, or the weight of knowing how to withdraw from those people. What you should have withdrew, you didn't. Okay, and so we make those mistakes, but I hope we're learning and we're growing. So I want to talk about some principles here. And step number one, or point number one, I want to deal with spiritual levels in building spiritual values. Spiritual levels in building spiritual value. And one of the things you want to ask yourself, and you want to ask your significant other, is what are your value systems in life? If you're dating, what is the value system? Like, what do you value as a young man? What do you value as a young lady? And the value system should change as you get older. You will shift certain values. What mean a lot to you at 16 may not mean as much to you at 20. What means a lot to you at 16 could mean more to you at 30. And so you want to make sure that each individual have a value system, because whatever we don't value, we don't honor. And when you don't honor it, guess what? Then you won't invest in it. Okay. You won't work on it. If it don't mean a lot to you, you're not going to put a lot of time into it. And so that's very key. And many times we start out wrong because we're dating or we're in a marriage, but we never check with our mates, is that valuable to you? Do you honor that system? What means a lot? What is very weighty for your belief system? And so very key. So the value systems in which we operate from, because how you think will determine how you feel, and how you feel will determine how you act. And so you want to make sure your thinking process in things that you value. And sometimes we find ourselves in crashes. We find ourselves being misused or abused, all because that person never valued listening to people. Like, do you have a value system in when it comes to listening? Does listening mean a lot to you? How well have you invested in becoming a listener? That's so key to relationships. And listening is an art form. And you must know how to develop the art form of listening. But if you don't value listening, you value talking more than you value listening, then you're not going to be a great listener. And what happens is when people can't hear you, they probably can't feel you. See, and if they can't hear you and can't feel you and can't see you, then you can't have an expectation for them to love you healthy. How can you have a healthy love system when you don't have a healthy listening system? Or when it comes to how do you value what you see? How important what you see, do you value it? Or do you usually walk over things regardless of their value because you don't treasure what you see? Do you have the ability to be able to value what you see? And that determines how much information you have to determine what you're looking at, how much value does it have? See? And so this is why when you buy a house, you have a person called the appraisal. She's able to look at your house and tell you what the value system is, to make the appraisal of its worth. And so many times going into relationships, we can't determine the worth of that kind of man. And so you keep picking things that are not, does not complement where you're going, does not complement your destiny, does not complement your future, does not complement your investments, because they don't have a good value system. They don't know how to determine what something is worth, what the worth of it is. And so what happens is one man trash become another man's treasure, all because he understands the worth of something. Okay. And this has everything to do with restoration. A lot of times you are in relationships and there's not a work on how to restore it because they never valued the original intent, the original color of the house, the original wood of the house. And so you won't deal with the messiness of restoration, because restoration is messy because you have to strip it down to its original. You won't put all the time in to restore it because you never valued it in the first place. Hope I'm making sense to you. All right. And so I want to deal with spiritual levels of spiritual values. And the reason why I'm dealing with spiritual level, because the first leg of any building, of any relationship, the first leg to the ladder, I'm dealing with a ladder, you're climbing up a ladder. The first leg should be the spiritual leg. And before you move into sexual legs, before you move into communicational legs, before you move into financial legs, before you move into family legs of bringing blended families together, the first leg of that ladder should be your spiritual foundation. Okay. Especially when you're talking to saints, and relationships are based upon God's covenant agreement. God established covenant. So it's not something you just want to get into because I like him or I like her, or I married him or I married her. You're not going to have a successful marriage God's way, if you don't do it God's way. In covenant, marriage is something that God ordained. It's not something that man decides to choose or to be a part of. Okay, so very key. And so the first leg of the ladder should be the spiritual leg. And the spiritual leg is identifying, recognizing, having discussions about that leg. And that leg is the values of spirituality, how important it is. And so I'm going to name some things because sometimes we can go too deep and I don't want to do that. I always want to make it practical. But how do we identify a spiritual value? And so we want to take our time, and we'll probably get no further than point number one today, because there's so many A, B, C, D, E, F, G parts of point number one that I want to deal with, spiritual values. And so I want to deal with that, okay? The spiritual system of a relationship, spiritual, what should matter? What is the first step of our relationship? And it should be, where are you spiritually? what matters to you from a spiritual point of view, and then we'll give a description on that so it won't be too deep. But in other words, I'll give an example. Vision is a spiritual value. Vision is a spiritual value. And so we'll deal with that, okay? And I'm gonna tell you why in a minute. But spiritual levels, building spiritual values. And so, and I want to define some things. Why did I pick the word value? Well, when we deal with value, anytime you don't have a value or have a value system in a relationship or anything that you're doing, you don't have the right atmosphere to grow it. You don't have the right atmosphere to build it, because values really, in the spiritual understanding of this, and this is kind of heavy, revelatorial, is it's the atmosphere of what you're trying to build. It is the atmosphere of where you're trying to go. And so if you don't have the right value system, you don't have the right atmosphere to produce it. You don't have the right atmosphere to build it. Why? Because you can't build anything you don't value. See what I'm saying? You can't be successful in anything you don't value. You will not get the ingredients that you need from it if you don't value it. And so the first thing I want to put is that value creates the right atmosphere for success. See? And so many times, even in ministry, I found out I can write all the books in the world, but people don't value information, then they're not going to read them. They're not going to buy the books. If they don't value friendship, then they're not going to commit. If they don't value respect, then they're not going to give you the respect they need. And so many times we're trying to build something, we're trying to climb up a ladder, but the first elements to be able to climb is not in place. See? So how much do you value having a value system? And if you don't have a value system, anybody can do anything to you, and you will do anything to anybody else, because you don't value them. You don't value their space. You don't value their words. So you don't have the atmosphere for listening. You don't have the atmosphere for respect. See, it makes sense now? See, so value creates atmosphere. And when we have the right atmosphere, you hear me talk about it all the time. If you don't have the right atmosphere for a palm tree, it's not going to grow. If you try to put an inside plant on the outside, the sun going to burn it up. And so in everything that needs growth, anything that needs building, the instruction will tell you what atmosphere it needs to be in and what atmosphere is dangerous to it. And so many times we can't climb the ladder of success because we don't have the right atmosphere conducive to the seed, to the truth that we're trying to establish. Okay, so very key. So value creates atmosphere. I want to give you that first. The first thing I want to deal with today as a spiritual level, as a spiritual leg in the ladder, okay, climbing up the ladder of relationships, is we need to ask ourselves, and I'm hoping the people who are single will watch this later on. I don't see a lot of single people on here. I see some. Good to see you, Sister Brown. God bless you. Good to see you, Sister Angela. God bless you. Is that we need to look at, and this is something we should, if people ask me all the time, on the first date, what should we do? On the first date, this is establishing. On the first date, you want to have some of these conversations, right? Even though y'all may go to McDonald's on the first date, don't laugh, because don't start out investing into something that you don't know what atmosphere you're investing in. See, again, if you don't check the atmosphere, then watch this. If they can't value the small things in life, if they can't value independency, if they're coming in with heavy expectations and we haven't even climbed up the first step yet. See, I'll know, should I continue on this ladder, by how much weight the first step can handle. See, very key. So one of the first things you need, and this is just, it don't have to be in this order, but they have to be on the list. One of the things you want to ask the individual, yourself and the person, and this is even if you're in a marriage, these value systems, you need to sometimes go back and recheck them. Sometimes you have to reevaluate. Did we move away some value systems? Was it something in our marriage that we used to value that we don't value anymore? Like, I'll give you some examples for me. I really value eating dinner together. It matters to me. Now, there's times when we're faithful to it. We usually have Thursday where we eat together. We've gotten away from the last 2 weeks, and it's been bothering me because I value sitting down at the table as a family. To me, our level of success has everything to do with how often do we eat together. And not just for the food, but for the conversations that eating brings. There's a level of intimacy, and me and my wife talked about it this morning. We had such a great time Sunday, but we all sat around the round table. Because at the round table, when you value that, nobody's head. So I can't use my influence or even my authority. I'm the husband here. I'm the daddy here. I'm the apostle here. No, at the round table, there's no head seat. And so we need to value that level of intimacy so that you won't be struggling silently because we haven't ate together in weeks. So I don't know what you've been dealing with. You've been depressed, but nobody knew it because we're so busy doing everything else in life. And sometimes in our relationship, we get so busy with the kids, get so busy with the job, get so busy with the ministry, get so busy that things are creeping in. Things are becoming weakened. Things are becoming polluted. Things need changing. Things are fading. But because we don't value that level of intimacy, again, we don't value at least sitting down once a week and eat together. And so what happens is the family has become weakened. Nobody knows anybody anymore. Things that happen that nobody know. Marriages are breaking up. We don't even know it. Pregnancy has taken place, but we don't know it. All because something that we used to value that created an atmosphere to be able to recognize those things. I heard a teaching today that really helped me so much. The guy was talking about how when you're moving sometimes and you'll put something in your truck and you tie it down. He said, but if you got a long journey, he said he's seen this guy that after driving about 4 or 5 hours, the guy pulled over to the side of the road and he went back out and he reclamped down because after traveling 4 or 5 hours, some of the things settled, but some of the things shift. And because of the load, of the shifting of the load and the settling of the load, he needed to reclamp down. And he talked about how sometimes in our life, in relationships, you've been traveling a couple years now. But in that traveling in your marriage or in your relationship, there's some things that shift. There's some other things that settle. And sometimes you just pulling over, not to stop, not to quit, not to give up, but you're pulling over so you can retighten things that got loose. So you can retighten things that shift. And sometimes in our relationship, you have to say, you know what, let's pull over and let's tighten up meeting again on Thursday. Let's tighten up having conversation. Let's clamp down on some things that we don't want to lose because we didn't retighten it after we had said it. Because we've been traveling and there's some things that blew in. There's some things that shifted. There's some weights that moved to the other side. And sometimes it's just that easy of saying, hey, we're on the right ladder. We're moving towards the right success, but we got to revisit some stuff. Why? Because we value it. We value what we're carrying. We don't want to lose it. We don't want to destroy it. We don't want to run over it. Okay. We don't want the winds to take it. And so because of that, we value it. We'll value it enough to revisit it. See, very key. And so even in marriages, sometimes you have to pull over and say, hey, let's go over the value system. We used to talk a lot and did we get away from valuing how much we talked before we went to sleep at night? Do we have to revisit how we used to value going to the movies, date night? We're not doing date night like we used to. We used to value laughing. And when the last time we put on something just made us laugh? See, we used to value taking at least 2 vacations a year. See, and so going up the ladder, and I'm just dealing with, I'm really going on all kind of levels now because I'm moving away from the spiritual level. But all these levels need to be revisited. Why? Which really goes back to the first level is because I value our value systems. And if I recheck those, if I constantly review those because I value them, guess what? They won't have to be lost in the house. You know, you hear me talk about the story when it talks about the coin was lost in the house. And how do you lose something that's in your house? How do you lose something? You lose it because there's too much time when you haven't revisited. There's too much time in between the last time you used it and when you need to use it again. And you don't know that when you give time to the enemy, when you give space for the enemy, he creates all kinds of things in between, because if it meant a lot to you, you would value it to revisit it. You would value it to check and see how you doing. I value our friendship. How you doing? That's why I'm calling you again. I ain't talked to you in about a week or so, so let me call you because I value where you are. You mean a lot to me. See? And so that value system is a very spiritual leg to the level of success, because when you walk into it, okay? So I'm giving you a lot today. All right. And so very key. So I want to talk about some things we should value. One of the things, and I would say point 1A today, that you should do you value human life? Ask your wife, how much does she value human life? How much do you value your human life? If you're dating, because a lot of times we are dating people, you're trying to build a relationship with people who don't even have a value for real life. And when you don't value human life, and this sounds like a simple question, but this question is so loaded. Why? Because if you really valued human life, you eat differently. See, I didn't even realize how much depression was controlling my life. It was depression that made me not want to go to the doctor. Why? Because if you really value life, good to see you, Kendra. God bless you, man of God. Pastor Alfred, God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. I see good people coming on, Brother Allen. Sister Rhonda, God bless you. If you really value life, then you wouldn't go years without checking your life. I think back sometimes and I say, man, I didn't realize how much, and this came from, you heard me talk about, I've been married several times, and every time there was a divorce, there was something that I lost. There was a ripping, and it had a lot to do with my psychological belief systems, because now you don't even realize how low you're feeling. You don't care about you to take yourself to the doctor. How long are you going to tolerate that pain? But do you really value your own life, to care about your life? If you eating yourself to death because you lost the value of life, of being healthy, you lost the value of being happy. So it's been 3 years since you really had a good laugh. It's been 8 months since you had a real cry. See? So you carrying, you suppressing, and all of this has everything to do with you lost your motivation for being the best version of yourself. You can't be the best version of yourself if you can't breathe. You can't be the best version of yourself if you're not happy. You can't be the best version of yourself if you're not healthy. You can't enjoy your children's life if you're cutting your life short. See? And so when you ask the question, if you're dating or in your marriage, do you value life? That's really asking the question as if, do you value life not enough to drink yourself to death? Do you value life enough not to work yourself to death? Do you value life enough to get rid of toxic people that are killing you and draining you? Do you love life enough? You see what I'm saying? To make healthy decisions for you. You keep putting yourself around people that bring drama to your life, that bring, as Pastor C talked about Sunday, a parasite. And why do you keep connecting yourself to parasites? You know it's killing you, it's losing your motivation, you don't dream anymore, but you really given up on the healthy side of human life. And so if you don't care about you, then you definitely not going to care about me. And when I ask you certain questions that has everything to do with me being healthy, you may not give me a healthy decision. You might not tell me the truth about some relationships that I'm in or some decisions that I'm making, because you don't even care about life when it comes to you. So you'll let me do some things that are foolish. See what I'm saying? And so it don't matter if we're both killing ourselves with depression. We're both killing ourselves by overeating. We're both killing ourselves by negative things that we believe in and keep making agreements with. Well, we both killing ourselves by not letting our past pass. See, so we just talk all day about what we didn't get, and you didn't have a father, and I didn't have a father, and you didn't have this, and I didn't have this, and we build something on toxic information or toxic emotion, all because we're not valuing human life. It'd be surprising to people who do not love themselves but want you to love them. See? And so when we deal with the value system, I need to ask you a question. How much do you care about you? Because if you're not going to work on you, you're not going to encourage me to work on me. This is why sometimes you look at couples and you say, man, they both falling apart. And nobody's checking one another because the respect for human life, the bar has been lowered so low. So we don't care if we eat McDonald's all week. Because I don't really care about really eating healthy. We don't care about that we are connected to a ministry that doesn't feed us spiritually. See? Good to see you, Cindy Mo. God bless you. Sister Angela, God bless you. And so you want to ask yourself in a relationship, and if you're dating, if you're single, you want to make sure, do you care about life? Because I noticed that you don't take care of your teeth. I noticed that having a haircut don't matter. I noticed that making investments in you as a woman don't matter. And see, a lot of times, and then you'll get in marriage and complain. He don't do this. He's lazy. She's lazy. All these different things. But they never had a value system about human life when y'all were dating. Or there's things that happen in the marriage that begin to break down, and nobody cared enough about making an investment. Remember, when you are connecting to anything, how long do you want to keep it? See? How long do you want to keep it? How long do you want it to stay around? How much has it benefit you when it's at its best version? Are you so broken to get any version matters to you? You don't need it to be healthy. You just need it to be working. See? So we have to ask ourselves a spiritual level to building on the first, and I'm dealing with those who came in late. We're talking about the ladder of success in relationships. The first ladder is a spiritual ladder. And you have to ask yourself, which is a spiritual understanding. Do you care about human life? See, because, and I told you it's a very heavy question. Why? Because if you care about human life, and you know the power of life and death is in the tongue, then you're going to be very careful of what you say to me. Because you can kill me with your words. You can make me feel ugly with your words. You can make me feel unaccepted with your words. So if you care about human life, now you're going to be accountable to what you say to me, knowing the power of your words. Ooh, we walking heavy today. All right. And so one of the things we got to value in dealing with a spiritual value system and building relationships, and ask yourself, because for years my value system of Robert Jenkins was not where it was supposed to be. And that's why I kept making unhealthy decisions because I didn't care enough about my health. If you care enough about your health, mentally, socially, spiritually, psychologically, then I'm not connecting with you because you're unhealthy for my thought process. You only believe in a poverty mentality. That's not healthy for my destiny. So I'm not connecting to something. See, good to see you, Karen. First time viewer. God bless you. I'm not connecting to something that's not healthy for where I'm going. I care enough about life and I don't want to be stuck. And I notice that you don't care about functioning in dysfunction. See? Very key. Okay. So you want to ask yourself and ask the significant others, whether you're single or whether you're in marriage, and make sure that the value system for human life stays at the level that we need to be according to God's design. And so the minute I start caring about the life that God allows me, he kept me alive for a reason. I'm going to be spiritually healthy where I need to be. I'm going to be mentally healthy where I need to be. I'm going to be physically healthy where I need to be. because that shows that I respect the life that God has given me. And I don't want the life average. I want life and life more abundantly. And so every aspect of life, my love for God and my gratefulness for him giving me, I become a manager. I become a steward of this life. And I have to value, because whatever I don't value, I don't invest in. All right, very key. The next thing you want to ask, and I'm just giving questions, and we're going through a list to make sure on the first step of the ladder of the spiritual level, we want to make sure that these things are in place and begin to have conversations and begin to bring them up to standard so that when we step on this ladder, it won't break. We don't want to fall from the very first step. We don't want to be stuck in the very first step. So we must make sure, is the first step, the spiritual ladder, love for life, is it in place? The next step we want to deal with is the value of vision. Now, this is major, and what I'm giving is major. This is seminar teaching. All right, the value of vision, because when you connect to a person who don't have a vision, then you can't get mad when y'all didn't go nowhere. And you can't get upset and say, we're not going nowhere. This relationship is not going nowhere. I've been with you 5 years. This ministry ain't going nowhere. This business is not going nowhere. How can it go somewhere to a place you never saw it to go? You never saw it. You ain't even supposed to start something until you see the end from the beginning. You're supposed to visualize it. You're supposed to be able to see. And so many times, without a vision, the people perish. So many times your relationship perished because your vision was limited, if it had a vision at all. And if you have a vision according to God's principle, you're supposed to write the vision down and make it plain. See? But do you value vision? But if you were the person who never had a vision, they live day by day, no vision, no plan, no expectations, nothing in place. So if we get it, we get it. If we don't get it, we don't get it. Well, that's a terrible thing. Because now what you're doing, you are at the victim of whatever the wind blows. You're not using your power of creativity. You're not calling those things as not as though they were. You're not speaking things into existence. You're not having a spiritual expectation because you have no expectation, because you have no vision. See what I'm saying? You don't know what's going to come to you because you don't know where you end up at, because you never had a vision to be in the right place. If you're in the wrong place, you're going to see the wrong things, run into the wrong people. But if you're in the right place, you're going to see the right things and run into the right people. But because you never had a vision of where you're going to be, you never know what's coming. So you can't prepare because you never saw it. See what I'm saying? And then you'll be, and what happens is you'll be connected to a person that will cause you to, they'll, if you're not careful, they will convince you to have joy in frustrations. See? And they'll start making you think you're unworthy to even dream. See, because visions are really for those who have waken up out of their dream. But if you don't have a vision, it also kills the dreamer. To be connected to people without vision is what they do. They rob you out of your rights to dream. What you dreaming for? Don't worry about it. Let it happen. Whatever happens, happens. So there's no planning. And wherever there is no plan, there cannot be anything planted. So now you don't know if you're ever going to get apples. So now time looks like a frustration to you because it's okay. How much time go past? I can't see anything. 30 years went by. I didn't see anything. 15 years in this marriage. Didn't see anything. Why? Because they never saw anything from the very beginning. See? And so and especially if you have a vision and they don't. Or they never value visions. So some people have visions, but they don't value visions. So they only have visions for conversations. I just want to sound like I want to get there. But if we don't get there, it's fine, because I really don't value that. I don't get mad when I'm not where I need to be. I don't get angry. See? And so people who don't get angry, you'll never come up with a better strategy. You'll never trust God for a more healthier strategy, because it didn't matter to you if you got there anyway. You just like the conversation that you had a vision, but you didn't value it to enough to fight for it. You didn't value it enough to strategize for it. You didn't value it enough to revisit it and make sure that you're on the right course today. And so people who don't value visions don't dream, don't have visions. They don't make investments. And what they do is most relationships that don't live by vision, you just stay high. They live on the highness of it, not with expectation. They don't want, because vision requires a reality perspective. It requires a inventory of where we are. Woo. See? And so people who don't live by vision, they just stay high. They just stay high. Just stay high. Never have to come down to build it. Never have to come down to birth it. Never have to come down to take responsibility. Never have to come down for a level of accountability, because they never had a value system for the vision. See? And so there's no planning. There's no orchestra. There's no written script of how this should get done. There's no counseling concerning the vision. There is, and really, if you get real deep with it, is I'm living life only for myself, because vision always includes other things or other people. When you have a vision of something, you see things that require. If I have a vision of a house, I also have a vision of a plumber that put the plumbing in. I have a vision of the roofer who put the roof on. I have a vision of the electrician. So even though I have a vision of the house, it includes other things that other people that were able to establish how that house can be manifested. See? And so, and especially, and you need to ask them in the dating or even in the marriage, let's sit down. Let's check our value. Did we value the vision God gave us? Because God told us we're supposed to be here. God showed us that. Are we working on it? Are we positioning ourselves? And you're right. It also requires discipline. See? And so there's a lot of things that you will notice that you're going to need for the relationship. You would have picked that up if you just would have talked about the vision. What's your vision, young? You want to marry me? I want to marry you. You want to get married? Do you have a vision for kids? See, that'll help us. Do you have a vision to move in a nice neighborhood? Do you have a vision for your calling? What did God show you? Where you see yourself in 20 years from now? Do you have a vision for senior citizens? Do you have a vision? I have a mother that's older that I was taking care of before I met you. Do you have a vision to be able to help people? Do you have a vision to be a giver? Because as life begins to make a demand on your design, if the vision of being that particular person was never there, now the person feels like you change. Because I never saw you becoming that. That's because y'all never talked about the vision of your life. Even when I was dating, and this is wrong but right, what I'm about to say, I knew I wasn't going to be with you because you don't fit into my vision. I knew where God wanted me to be. And I knew even when I wasn't doing right, I ain't going to be able to stay here long because I know what God showed me about me. That's right. They talk about it, but they don't want to be about it. They don't put in the motions. Absolutely, Sister Angela. And so we have to make sure. And so, and this is, remember what we're talking about? It's just the first step on the ladder. We're talking about value systems, spiritual value systems. So do you care about life, yourself, your own health care, your own weight, your own vision? Do you care about what's yourself? Are you healthy enough to produce kids? Do you care about life? Do you value respect? Because if you don't value it for yourself, you're not going to value it for me. And without these value systems, you'll start saying things like, you think you're better than me. No, I just value life more than you do. I value certain things more than you do. And see, and so you'll run into financial problems. Why you got to spend so much money? Because I value having the best. Why? Because I'm the best. And so I give myself who I am. I will never drive a car that's worth $100,000 and I feel like $2. Because I know that I'm rich. I put myself into what I let on the external express what's internal. And so now when I'm connecting to people, if they don't have the same value systems, they don't have the same investments. They don't have the same concerns. They won't make time for what I value. So you never do this with me and you never do that with me because I never value that. I never value sitting together talking. I never value going to the movies together. I never value us holding one another's hands. I never valued what you value. Man, this is heavy. Okay. So the value of human life, point number one, well, point 1A. Point 1B, the value of vision. Point 1C, and not necessarily in these orders, but I'm going over these things. You must ask your mate, whether you're married or you single, you have to be married or you're dating, you gathering data. Do you value purpose? Now, this is a big one. What's your purpose as a man? What is your purpose in God's eyes as a woman? Do you value that? Because many times we meet people when you're not doing what you're called to do. Purpose is the original intent of a thing in the mind of the owner. Okay, so you're not doing what you've been called to do. All of a sudden now you want to do what you're called to do, and that person is saying, I never wanted that kind of man. See, you need to meet people and you need to introduce the real you to your mate so they can value your purpose. Because what you don't value, and I'm giving some major jewels today, you will not invest in. So now you mad. You never invest in what I like to do, what I'm called to do. You never make time for me. They never had value for your purpose. And you got to be honest. Sometimes you asking people to have value for a purpose that you just started last week. You ain't put enough time into your own purpose. You haven't showed them how much your purpose, that you value your purpose. See? So I can't demand for respect for something I have not given respect to. See? So if I value preaching, if I value it, then there's a level of respect, there's a level of honor, there's a level of investment, there's a level of self-care that I have towards what I value. And because and this is a real danger, because when you don't value purpose, you make yourself available for everything other than what you've been designed to be. The problem with that is that when it's time for you to shift, or when there's a need for God to use you, you're not even equipped to be who you've been called to be because you didn't use the ingredients in other areas. See? So now you've been abused so long, somebody try to use you the right way, you don't even know how to appreciate it. Because you've never been loved in your purpose. You only been loved when you was a prostitute. You only been loved when you was allowing people to pull on you, use you for you, but not use you as you. See what I'm saying? And so, do you value purpose? And you want to ask that person, because don't get mad when I'm putting time in myself when you never value yourself to put time in yourself. So now you feel like me taking time to develop my purpose is taking away time from you. I should never deny my purpose to fulfill you when you're not taking out time. Because what happens is we'll come to find out that if we are purposely put together by God, then our purposes connect. See, so now there's not a stealing away, there's a sharing, not a stealing. See, and the more that I invest and I value purpose, it lets me know if we are purposely connected. See, because many times you want to have a pleasure connection and not a purpose connection. But if I value purpose, I won't destroy it messing with pleasure. And anytime you are introduced to pleasure before purpose, you'll be addicted to the pleasure of it and not the purpose of it. That's why we eat wrong, because we eat what tastes good to us, but not what was good for us. Because we enjoy the pleasure before we enjoy the purpose. That's one of the reasons why God says, do not have sex unless that is your covenant partner, unless that is your husband or your wife. Why? Because if you get into sex for the pleasure and not for the purpose to be fruitful, to multiply, to replenish, now you don't want to do it for the purpose. You're only doing it for the pleasure. And this is just the first step of the ladder. I need to know, do you know your purpose as a man? You're not going to marry me and don't know who you are. Do you know who you are as a woman? Do you know the reason why God allowed you to be created? Do you know your reason for being on this earth? Because you'll become a distraction to me because you never understood my purpose. So you got me in everything other than what I've been designed to do. And then got me feeling insufficient because I'm doing something I haven't been designed to do. So I can never get the joy out of it. I can never get the excellence out of it because I wasn't designed for it. Ooh, this is heavy stuff today, Pastor C. All right. So the value of human life, 1A. 1B, the value of vision. 1C, the value of purpose. We're dealing with spiritual values. So we're really saying human life is a spiritual virtue. We're really saying that vision is a spiritual value. We're really saying purpose is a spiritual value. And you need to talk about these things and build on these things and revisit these things quite often. All right. The next thing is 1D, the value of ministry, because relationships, marriage is about ministry. The whole purpose of marriage is to bring God the Father, God the Son, and God the earth, those principles to the earth realm. It is ministry. It is to do the work of God. Man was made for God, woman was made for man, and she's the helpmate to help him meet his God assignment on the earth. There's a purpose for marriage, and it is for the ministry. It is the ministry of reconciliation. It is the ministry of reflection. It is the ministry of oneness. It is the ministry of love. It is the ministry of unity. It is the ministry of combined or corporate oil. It is the ministry of favor. One who finds a wife finds a good thing. These are all the ministries of marriage. And so many times you are in a marriage, but nobody values the purpose of the marriage, the purpose of the ministry. And so you can be doing ministry, but not letting ministry do you. And so you're not becoming one, even though you got a church, somebody's pastor, somebody's evangelizing, but the ministry of oneness is not being come together. So you have to value the purpose of this ministry. God don't want us to be one with everybody else, but we're not one with one another. So do we value ministry? Do we value unity? Do we value love? Do we value forgiveness? Do we value the peace of God, the passive understanding? See, that's valuing ministry. We value that. And so when it comes time to open up our house for another person to stay there, we value ministry. So God didn't let us have a 8, 9, 10 bedroom house just for us. That's for the ministry. So you're not tripping when I bring somebody's home and baby cook some extra food, which I know my wife is already going to have some extra food anyway, because she understands our ministry is to feed people. Our ministry is to counsel people. Our ministry and our marriage is to spend time and to pour into people. So we're going to make financial investments. Why? Because I understand the purpose of the ministry. You see, and that's a value system. So I know the ladder of success. If I stop my wife from doing what she's called to do, she's called to speak to women. She's called to build up the femininity of women. She's called to give women wisdom. That's the ministry. I'm called to build men. I'm called to bring people into a greater and a walk or deeper depth with God. And so when I understand that ministry, we work together to do that. So sometimes we're going to be up all night with other people. Sometimes our time is going to look like that we don't have much time together, but we understand it. But because we value coming together, we're going to make sure that date night is there. We're going to make sure that Thursday dinner is there, because we know them other days we do ministry. So now we're learning how to manage, to be proper stewards over not just one gift, not 5, but maybe 10. Because we understand the work of the ministry, the value of the ministry. And it's just as important that we go out and have some potato chips and ice cream, but it's just as important that we may have to stay up and cry with somebody and pray and intercede. See, we may have to do some things that require some more of our time. We may have to give away some things. We may have to purchase some things. We may have to put some people in our car and go pick them up. We may have to pay some extra bills. All those things are a part, because that's a part of our marriage. Our marriage is not just to have sex and have babies and get a house and the picket fence and 2 dogs. No, it's part of ministry, and ministry include sacrificing. See, and many times marriages are falling apart because you're not doing the purpose of the marriage. You're not doing the ministry part. You so busy on the pleasure part, you're not doing the purpose. And God didn't put y'all together just to be looking at one another. But y'all got some other people y'all got to reach and y'all got to touch. Ooh. And do you value that ministry? Do you value that? I look at my den. I thank God for my wife. I thank God for what she allows me to do. And really not only allows me to do, but she supports me in. In our den, we have a huge den. But in our den, there's 2 pianos set up, chairs set up, microphones set up, table set up. We got a table for, because we always feeding people, but we got the music because we have in church, we have in Bible study. And she doesn't complain about, I want my den back, because she understands the den is not just to be a den. The den is a part of the ministry of this marriage. See what I'm saying? There are books all over the place because my husband is a book writer. My husband is a book reader. That's a part of the ministry. We have 2 freezers because we got to buy extra food. Why? Because we feed people. That's part of the ministry. See? My husband is up at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because getting up early and part of his teaching is part of his ministry. See? And so when you understand that, that brings you to a better building in your marriage. And many times the conflict is that you wanted the natural side of the marriage, but not the spiritual side of the marriage, which you don't have any foundation, because your marriage cannot sustain itself on natural reasoning alone, because that's not the purpose of the marriage. See? Ooh, this is heavy today. Let me see if I can finish these points. I got 4 minutes. So that's 1D. 1E would be the value of faith. See, many times marriages fall apart because one person's faith is increasing and another person's faith is decreasing. Is your faith increasing in the marriage? And sometimes God will put you in opportunities, not because you could not afford it, but you didn't know how to faith it. You're looking for what you can afford, but you need to look for what you can faith for. What do you have faith for? And the value of that. I cannot stay in the marriage like this, or the marriage will not be healthy. We'll run into problems because you're not increasing your faith, sweetheart. You're not increasing your faith, darling, whatever you call your husband. See? And so the value of faith, and so we must go from faith to faith. We must increase our faith. We must know how to work our faith. We must know how faith comes. We must know how faith operates. God's going to put us in a situation that we have to increase our faith. We have to water our faith. We have to build our faith. And so we have to value our faith. I can't let philosophies come in. I can't let outside visitors come in and change my husband's faith. Now he don't believe like he used to believe. That's why we're not walking together as we used to, because how can 2 walk together unless they agree? See, making sense to you. All right, very key. All right. And so the value of faith, and do you value that? That should cause y'all to read the Bible together more, to study more together more. Go buy a book, and we're gonna read this book together because we're gonna increase our faith. We're gonna learn some scriptures. We're gonna start going to more seminars together. That's why sometimes marriages break up, because the foundation when y'all first started, y'all was at the same level of faith, or maybe 1 or 2 difference, but one person, and it's happened a lot of times with women. The women, because they go to church more, sometimes they're more easier to tap into worship. So now your faith is increasing, but your husband's is not. So now you run into a problem in your marriage because y'all not at the same faith level, or there's too much of a gap. You at level 10, he's at level -4. That's a problem. So there's some agreements you can't get out of him. There's some things he don't see because he don't have enough faith to see it. And so now he's questioning the very God that you believe in. That was a strength for your marriage. You know your marriage cannot work. You married it based upon what you heard the Lord say. So you have to follow God. And when he's not increasing in his faith, when he don't value that. Some people use God as an interest, but they never wanted God in the place. They just wanted God to give them access to the place. They see God as keys, but they never wanted him to be the house. And so this causes a problem in marriages. And especially when you need to ask them, how much does you believing in God matter? How much do you believe in that he's the Son of God matter? How much do you believe in water, in spiritual baptism? How much do you believe in going to church? How much do you believe in studying your Bible? Where's your faith when it comes to the invisible? Where's your faith level when it comes to trusting God from the unseen? See, these are questions that we got to have, and we have to value that. And I'm going to let nobody talk me out. I'm fully persuaded. You can't never, I don't care what you come up with, you're going to never tell me that God is not good or that I can do this on my own. I can only do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I'm constantly getting greater and learning more. See, where's your faith level when it comes to praying? Where's your faith level when it comes to healing in the body? Do you believe God can heal you of cancer? Do you believe God can get you out of debt? Do you believe God can get you out of poverty? See, all these I value my faith level in God. Feeling the anointing. Okay, 2 more things and we'll come to a close. So time is about up. Do you value your convictions? I'm dealing with the first ladder of moving up. It's the ladder of spirituality. That's the first foundational brick you need to stand upon and you need to revisit that. I don't care if you've been married 15 years. I don't care if you've been dating 6 months. I don't care if you just met him last week. These are things you need to go over in your first date. And let's talk about these things. You don't even find out later he really don't even believe in God. Well, I never really believed the Bible was a true authority of life. What? Now we married? You know, I really never believed that Mary had a baby as a virgin. What? I never really believed in the resurrection. I think somebody stole his body. See? All these things. Last 2 points. The value of conviction. Do they value your conviction? If you're feeling a conviction, you feeling something in your gut, do they value that? Or are they people who ignore that voice that's trying to pull them into a greater level? Do you follow your convictions? Or are you easily persuaded? Are you tossed to and fro by every winning doctrine? See? And so you want to deal with that. How much do you value convictions? I'm telling you, I'm feeling something. I'm feeling something. God is calling me. Something is pulling me. I think I need to go back to school. Do they value that? Or what you say have no weight? What you feeling has no weight? Because you're going to run into complications when your convictions never meant anything to them. Their convictions never meant anything to them. Okay? And then the last thing, do you value dreams? You saw some things for your marriage. You saw some things for your kids. But they'll never make the investment in what they don't value. Are you a dreamer? I remember about 2 years ago, God began to tell me how much life had stole my dream, and I had stopped dreaming. I stopped desiring. And when you stop desiring, you won't work on something because I don't care if it come to pass. So why put the time? Why put the investment in? I don't care if that happens or don't happen. I'm not a dreamer. And you'd be surprised at things in life that will steal you from dreaming. You don't even dream of y'all having been together 30 years. It's not part of your dream. It's not part of your dream that y'all ever get out of this. It's never part of y'all dream to own your own business. It's never part of y'all dream that you begin to no longer have to work. It's never your dream to be able to make $5 million a year. It wasn't part of the dream. See? Never part of the dream to be elevated. Never part of the dream. See? And do you value, or are you with people who dream all the time, but just a dream. You despise small beginnings. You don't have a value system to make dreams become a reality. And so that's why you can't get the level of participation that you need from your mate. You can't get them to make the investment that you need them to make because they never had a value system for those things. And everything I talked about today, these are real complications in marriages. So we'll come to a close and I'll go over them again. Spiritual value systems. And you got to start out, do you have a value system? What do you value? Tell me in life what means a lot to you. Do you value having your car clean more than having your heart clean? Do you value having a clean house? Because now you're in a marriage and you saying this house is nasty. They never valued having a clean house. Do you value taking care of stuff? Or are you more concerned about getting it but not keeping it? Do you value friendship? Do you value relationships? Do you value thought patterns? or thinking crazy don't mean nothing to you. Just like people just can say whatever and you don't value the worth of words. See that? Good to see you, Sister Ruby. God bless you. So value systems. Value systems create atmosphere. Going over real quickly what I taught. If you don't have the right value system, you don't have the right atmosphere to grow whatever you're trying to grow or build whatever you're trying to build. So what was some of the value systems we went over today? Do you value human life? That will determine how well they take care of you and how well they take care. Many times we don't take care of our mothers and their fathers when they get older because we never value life. We never valued it. You don't take care of your life because you never value it. And you'd be surprised at people who have more value for gifts than they have for life. Most musicians value their gift more than their life. They don't have no health care, but as long as they can play, as long as they can travel. See? And so now you're marrying musicians because you got attracted to his charisma, but now you realize he never had a value system. So he don't care if he washes clothes. See? Whole lot of stuff. So do you value human life? See? Do you value vision? Does the man have a vision? Does the woman have a vision? Do you value purpose? Don't get mad because I'm doing my purpose and you ain't doing yours. Why you got to go back to school? Because my purpose is to be a teacher and I got to educate myself. See? Do you value ministry? You always in church. I value ministry. I'm called to it. What ministry do you value? Do you value faith? I'm not going to be a Christian today, a Muslim tomorrow, a Catholic the next day, a Hebrew Israelite the following week, because I don't value the faith in which I know God has convinced me is the real faith. Do I value my convictions? That's telling me you gotta turn left, you gotta make a U-turn. You on the wrong road. Stay in that place. My convictions. See, I feel like I need to help kids. I'm being convicted. I saw that little girl by herself, and something told me I was supposed to help out young girls. But you don't value convictions. And so now when it comes down, if you with somebody who don't value convictions, when you're trying to make an investment, when you want to make that U-turn in your life, they're not going to support you because they never value it. Do you value dreams? See? And you'd be surprised at the marriages. In order for you to do what you're called to do, you had to pull away from the person it was called to help you do it. Something God told me, we got to work together. Marriages must work together. And you got to work together by what you both value. And there's some things that your value system could increase if you would give it time. You don't value what they value because you don't give it the time. If it matters to them, it matters to you. If it matters to my wife, it matters to me. What's valuable to you have to become valuable to me because we have to do it together. And if we had two different value systems, we had two different time systems. How much time we going to give it, how much investment we going to give it, how much weight we going to give it, how much attention we going to give it. See? So these are very key. So thank you for your time. This has been great. Like I said, my wife wasn't able to be here today. She's taking care of some other things. And so I thank you for it. Hope this helped you today, building the ladder for relationships, and start with value systems. And for those who've been married, those are in marriages, go back and write down the things I've given you today, and go buy some wings and some fries or whatever y'all like to eat. Here, I'm in New Orleans, there's seafood, and say, look, I want to sit down. I want to go over. Have we gotten away from this? Do we value this less than we need to? Do we value this more than what we need to? Do we need to prioritize some of our value systems? Have we made doing nothing more value than doing something? See, go over them. It's going to help you. It's going to help you have a healthy ladder so you keep climbing up and go higher and higher and deeper in God. All right. And so this has been great. I thank God for you. Thank God for everything. Cash App, $ Apostle Robert Jenkins, PayPal, Apostle RJ. I'll see you tomorrow. Don't miss tomorrow's teaching. We're going to deal with the purpose and the power of kingdom shifters. This is going to shift your life. These teachings are going to shift your life. So you don't want to miss that tomorrow. I love you. Thank you. God bless you. And let me get ready to hit this. Walk in God's favor.
God will take us higher. if we stay together, loving one another higher. If we stay together, loving one another.
Covenants are made by God to stand against the odds. It's a covenant between us two. Your love for me and my love for you. We give each other space to walk in this grace that's made for this special place.
Higher. If we stay together.